Beep. All right, let me stop that. We should be live. I'm not seeing it on YouTube here yet. Let me refresh this and say it. I guess I had an hour off on YouTube. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, I see it going live on YouTube now. There's a delay.
I see it as well.
Okay, cool. All right, we're live. This is Bill Ludlow, and I'm here with Chucky Darwin. And wasn't sure. I wasn't even going to make another video about Kent Hovind or anything for a while. I was kind of tired of doing that, but he keeps throwing out the most amazing material to do, to cover. So, yeah, today was just nuts. His thing on the pterodactyl sighting in Texas. So we're going to talk about that. If you guys aren't familiar with my website, it's creationsciencefiction.com. And check out my Creation Science Fiction Facebook page. A lot goes on there that doesn't go on other places too. So my website is a great resource for refuting creationism. There's also documentaries, lectures, and my almost daily blog. So before I get going here, I got to do a shout out to Billy J for sending me this comic. I didn't know if you want me to use your last name because I know you go as a pseudonym on use a pseudonym on YouTube and that. But, you know, I mentioned in a video a while back that on the Akambaro figures or figurines, that this was the comic book they used from 1947 to use as a model for those figures, and how I would love to get a copy. And Billy found it for me and sent it to me. I got it in the mail today. That was amazing. Thank you. So crazy. So how you doing, Chucky?
I'm doing all right.
All right. Guys, let us know if the volume's good. How's the volume here? Let me see. Well, it's going to be a little bit before we get a response, I guess, because they're probably on like a 30-second delay or something. But, oh, well. Hopefully, I'll keep an eye on the chat, and if there's a problem with the volume, then people will let us know. It sounds good here to me, but I'm not always sure. So, anyway, yeah, so let's talk about the video. Alan, the truck driver. Alan, I don't know how many of you guys have seen it. I'll put a link in the video description. Hopefully some of you guys have watched it today. Alan seems like a real nice guy, seems like a sincere guy. Claims that
reliable.
On or around June 14th of last year, 2018, he was driving down the freeway in Texas, just outside of Dallas, Fort Worth area there, and saw a pterodactyl with a wingspan of about 4.5 to 5 feet, 20 to 30 feet off the ground. It was medium dark brown. It's kind of coming towards him, came across the freeway, across the median there. Let's take a quick look at a clip from Kent's show here, where he describes his encounter.
It was a very good sighting because it wasn't at a distance. It was getting closer and closer and closer.
What was the wingspan, would you guess?
Somewhere around 4.5, maybe 5 feet, but it's hard to tell the wingspan because it was, you know, kind of a profile. I was looking at the side of it, and it was gliding in the wind, and it was, you know, reacting to the wind.
Yeah. So you didn't really get a great look at the, you know, except for the side, the profile, but he was able to tell it had no feathers.
Which is really weird how you could do that from looking at it at that angle. Yeah.
Let's take a look at where this sighting was here. This is the area. Now, the blue square is like the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport area. The red circle is where it was sighted. We had Jim Highfill. Hi, Jim. Jim wrote in on my Creation Science Fiction page on Facebook. He says the 13-county Dallas-Fort Worth Arlington metropolitan area has a population of 6.8 million, seventh largest metro area in the United States. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is the primary international airport serving the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex area in the U.S. state of Texas. It's the largest hub for American Airlines, which is headquartered near the airport. Fourth busiest airport in the world. Okay, ninth busiest international gateway. The thing is that, again, you're looking at the pterodactyl sighting was in the red circle, and the airport's in the blue square. There would have been a lot of traffic even at 10:30 a.m. there. And he makes the point that the guy couldn't remember to reach for his cell phone to take a picture, but he almost immediately reached for his cell phone to call Mr. Kent Hovind and report it.
he actually contradicts himself, because at I believe 2 minutes and 17 seconds in, he says traffic is light, and then later around 11 minutes he says there was a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I have evidence that this is a blue heron, and I have evidence that the story is just made up. So I'm not sure where to go at this point.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things it could be. Definitely. Now let's take a look at his drawing of it. I've got that right here. And let's see here. I think I can do it. There we go. See his drawing of it there. And one of the things he said is that you check out the neck. He made a point that it had a neck that was curved like that, like a heron in flight. Or stork,
Specifically the great blue heron, which is
mm-hmm.
in the Fort Worth area.
Yeah. In fact, I've got a slide of that coming up too. So, but I mean, I don't believe that pterodactyls flew that way. Of course, I wasn't there, but looking at what we see from their anatomy and that, it doesn't seem to match. So.
Yeah, the specific species he mentioned that Kent mentioned was Rhamphorhynchus, and if you look at the neck, it's a pretty short neck. And
right. Yeah. Here it is right here. This is the species that Kent mentioned. And that he pointed out to him during the video there, and it's hard to tell what the neck looked like from that fossil, but yeah, short neck doesn't look right to me. Let's keep going here. We'll take a look at a couple of possibilities of what it might have been. Here we go. Could have been that. Of course, the neck is wrong. But, there's a lot of these pterodactyl, radio-controlled pterodactyls out there. So you see those. Here's another one here. Lots of those out and flying around different parts of the country. There's a comment on one of the videos that I thought was pretty funny and pretty appropriate. Bet you also got a couple people in the area that just happened to see a flying pterodactyl in the sky. So here's another possibility. I mean, would have been hard to miss the strings, but you're driving along in the truck, and you can't see everything going on. And I don't know, these things probably can't keep flying if the string broke, but 20, 30 feet off the ground seems pretty low, but it's still a possibility. Let's skip forward here. There's what you were talking about there, the heron.
Yes, the great blue heron.
Yeah. I mean, and with the neck like that too, the curved neck. He talked about the triangle shape. If it was flying, if it were flying with its feet, say, closer together, and maybe they're overlapping a little bit, it could look that way. Or if it had something stuck to his foot, I mean, a lot of possibilities here. So, definitely is something that there's a lot of other explanations that could be good.
In the beginning,
better than seeing an actual pterodactyl.
About 1 minute in, he says it's carrying something, which
immediately
that should trigger a red flag, because pterosaurs, they don't have opposable toes, so they can't actually grasp anything.
Yeah, he didn't say, when he said it was carrying something, he didn't say like whether it was trying to, it's not like a raptor with its feet, or whether it's carrying something in his mouth or whatever. He never really elaborated on that, did he?
He didn't.
Carrying something. So, yep. Truck driver fatigue. I wonder how long he'd been driving. It was 10:30 in the morning, but had he been up all night? Some of the signs that you're too tired to drive here are frequent yawning and rubbing your eyes, can't remember the last few miles driven, having trouble holding your head up or nodding off, and seeing pterodactyls. It's right here. So it's right there. I found it on the internet. It's got to be true. So seeing
it sounds right to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what I haven't been really paying attention to the comments here much. Let me see what we got in there. We got what is he, George? Oh, hey, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for the super chat there. That's great.
If
You
we
said
could
you
address,
weren't going to. You said you weren't going to stay up.
if we could address this thing about feathers really quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
He mentioned the creature in question not having feathers, which, from the angle of which he's talking about, it's really doesn't sound plausible that he could tell something like that. But another thing that we know is that pterosaurs were covered with fibers called pycnofibers. So they did appear fluffy and not
Right.
naked like a lizard. So if this creature did exist at all, it would have had some sort of integument, some sort of covered with something.
Mm-hmm. We got a question here. Did he say it was blue or some other color? Brown. He did describe it as medium to dark brown, a lot like the kite that I showed you. Yeah. So very
But
close
he
to
did
that
say
color.
from the angle, I believe it's from the angle, he might not have been right, or it could have been casting a shadow of some sort, so it could have appeared darker. So which does lead me to lean towards the fact that it could be a blue heron.
Yeah, the blue heron does seem pretty likely. So what else do we got here? Some of these I can't read out loud. All right. Great blue heron. Yeah, I think it was too. We've got herons here, beautiful ones up on the Mogollon Rim at some of the lakes up there. We've got some great pictures of them, and they're big birds, and they glide a lot, but then they'll flap every now and then, and that's what he was talking about. It was gliding, and every now and then it would flap a little bit. Sounds like a heron. And the triangle-shaped feet. He kept mentioning triangle. But he didn't see feet. He didn't see legs, but you're talking extremely long, thin legs with triangular-shaped feet. So, yeah. But the color's wrong. But again, it could be a shading, shadow, something.
Yeah, my guess is it would be shadow, more likely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is interesting. One of the big things I was doing here tonight was just to check out this program that I got. So this is really neat. I'm able to watch the chat and do all that. So let's take another quick look at the heron. I just want to see how that works out. Hey, there's the heron again. So, and again, if you're looking at that sideways, you're not going to be able to see a lot of definition in feathers either. And, so from what he described, that's really close. So we go back again real quick to what he's describing here. Let me skip back through these. Definitely could have been a heron.
Yeah, the neck it seems like a dead giveaway.
Yep. I wanted to mention this, the Young Earth creationists bring up these a lot. There's a couple photographs that are floating around out there. One of them is from a movie set where they had one of these, and they kind of recreated this. The other one's another is an image that's been floating around the internet for years and years of, I think it's Tucson, maybe, where there's supposed to be a pterodactyl there. Both obvious fakes. And, even if it were real, if they did find one back then, Kent Hovind, you couldn't prove that it had children, and those children are still alive today. So, yeah, just had to mention that. But, also Kent keeps calling them flying dinosaurs. Did you pick up on that? I did
pick up on that. A lot of people in the comments did too.
Yeah, he keeps calling them flying dinosaurs. Well, there are flying dinosaurs alive today. It's just not pterodactyls. Pterodactyls were never dinosaurs. Of course, all birds are, cladistically, they're still flying dinosaurs. Well, the ones that fly are still flying dinosaurs.
So maybe Alan did see a flying dinosaur today.
Could have been in a blue heron. Yeah, it would have been correct. A flying dinosaur. But, it isn't what they're describing, the pterodactyl, for sure. Kent also mentioned this would destroy evolution. If they found something that were supposedly died out 65 million years ago and they found it today, it's going to destroy the theory of evolution. So, of course, we couldn't admit it. But, we found these guys, the coelacanth, and it didn't destroy evolution. You know, coelacanths are. We didn't discover them because the ones that did survive the Permian extinction there, at the end of the Permian, lived 500 feet below the water, and nobody fished for them for about the next 65 million years. You know, we didn't have the technology to do that until the last couple hundred years, where actually we would have caught one of those things. So that's one of the problems with that, you know, and we wouldn't find any fossils because we're not looking in areas where they lived, you know, down at those depths and that, where they would have died and become fossilized. So,
And if you think about it, a coelacanth would be harder to miss than a pterosaur, because humans, we don't live in the water, but we do live above land, just like pterosaurs.
right. Yep. Yep. All right. What other questions we got? See what we got for questions. Songs of Flying Down. Yeah, on the thing, the bat wings. Yep. Well, tell me, you know, Chucky, I'm fairly new to YouTube. You know, I've been active on Facebook and other social media. I was discussing creationism in like community forums over the last 20 years, but I'm pretty new to YouTube. You know, my debate with Kent Hovind was just about my first foray into YouTube. And then, you know, I had started my own channel, but it wasn't until the last year or so that I really started building any content. But I hear you were around YouTube for a while back. Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's see. How long have I been around YouTube? Well, I've been around since before Kent Hovind was released from prison.
Okay. Okay.
So it's the most I can remember.
All right.
Actually, around the time Venom Fang X was a thing.
I was just going to ask you about Venom Fang X.
Yeah, around then I was there, and during around what time? Well, yeah, during the beginning of Venom Fang X, I was actually a creationist.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Young Earth.
Young Earth, yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
But it didn't take long once I'd actually discovered YouTube and how to actually use it. It was actually Don Exodus, if anybody remembers him, that actually convinced me there was no conflict between evolution and Christianity. But at some point, Christianity just didn't stick. But I had been active up until around 2 years ago, because I had actually joined the army, and I'm still in. That's why I'm wearing my shirt. And I took a break for a while, and it's only been as of last month that I've actually got back into YouTube, and that's pretty much it.
Huh. Now, the Venom Fang X stuff, I caught some of that, you know, back when it was going on here and there. Yeah, I didn't really follow people on YouTube. I didn't subscribe to any channels or anything like that, but I did catch stuff because people would mention it other places and everything too. So that was really interesting. You know, some of the dishonest tactics that people use to try and take down other channels and things like that. So, yeah. Well, cool. What do we got next here? Yeah, I wondered if Hovind was going to delete his video. He's done that before on a couple of them. I think they'll let this one stay, though.
This one's going to stay. Hovind doesn't care about honesty. And this is a supposed eyewitness, which is, for some reason, really big for people like Hovind.
You know, one of the things Kent said towards the end of his video there, too, was he said the atheists are going to say you're crazy. He was talking to the truck driver. You know, says the atheists are going to say you're crazy, but this makes sense to Christians. The thing is, most Christians don't believe the earth is 6,000 years old and people rode dinosaurs, you know. The upcoming show that I've got starting Monday nights on September 2nd is going to be about leaving creationism, leaving young earth creationism. And, you know, most Christians aren't young earth creationists, and they're getting fewer and fewer. A lot of it is because of people like Kent Hovind that are so out there and so obviously wrong that when people, you know, a lot of people, even just leave Christianity altogether. Is that what happened to you, sort of? I mean, you were a young earth creationist, and then how did you feel when you started to really realize that, you know, what you were taught was wrong?
It was a lot of internal conflict. I would say young earth creationism is one of the best gifts to atheism, because when you notice a lot more atheists started out as young earth creationists than have started out as, say, theistic evolutionists or even old earth creationists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because,
I'm sorry, when you left, did you go from young earth creationist to atheist, or was there a transition? No. Okay.
It was a transition from theistic evolutionist, and then from there it was deist, and then just atheist. Deist for about a week. I didn't stick.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, all right. Can't believe it. Yeah. The Loch Ness monster, all that. Kent believes all that stuff. So
he says it's just a swimming dinosaur.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the coelacanth is just not an issue at all for evolution. The one thing about the coelacanth is that, you know, the two species that are alive today are not that similar to the ones that were alive in the fossil record, that we see in the fossil record. So, you know, there's several differences, and they are definitely adapted to much deeper, colder water than a lot of the coelacanths that were around 100 million years ago.
Yeah.
Just reading some of the comments here. Saw a trilobite the other day. All right.
The two alive today are even pretty different from each other. So.
Yeah. Yes, Kent is an anti-vaxxer. Somebody asked that. Mm-hmm. He sure is. In fact, he was married to, and still may be married to, an anti-vaxxer. We're not sure if they ever got really legally divorced. So. Mm-hmm. There isn't a fossil record. Yeah, okay. That's right. Coelacanth is a... All right. All right. Well, what else you got, Chucky?
I don't think I have anything.
Yeah?
We can go to the audience for questions, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm looking for questions here. So I know they're a little bit behind us. So I think they're like 30 seconds behind. So, but again, one of the main reasons I wanted to do this was just to check out this program. I like it. I think it's kind of cool. So it's a little different, but Google Hangouts has gone away, and you can't just get online like that with before. And there's several options out there right now. So.
When did they get rid of Hangouts?
Right at the beginning of this month. Yeah.
I used to be on Hangouts a lot too.
I know, and I know people that have tried that didn't realize it, and they scheduled something and tried to get online, and oops, there's nothing there. Yeah, so you can't do it. Now, this is called what is it called? StreamYard. There's a free version of it. With the free version, you get their logo up in the corner. You can't do intros. You can't play the clips like the clip that I played. It's got some limitations, but you can do at least 4 people, I think, with it, maybe even more on it. This one, I know you can do at least 10 or whatever people if you want it on it here. And you've got a lot of different options. So it's kind of neat. And you go through their interface, which is online, just through your browser, through Chrome. And it literally, once you've connected your YouTube channel with it, it's just super easy to use. It sets the time for the broadcast, everything, and sets it all up for you just like you would, and it shows up on YouTube. So it's completely integrated. Yeah, I've heard Kent talk about the dinosaur in Africa. I don't know how to pronounce it. Mokele Membi. Yeah. In fact, I did a video on that with the Kevin Conover series on the Young Earth Creationism that I had. I can't remember which number it was, but we went over that pretty extensive in there. But yeah, I've heard Kent talk about that and the Loch Ness monster. And, you know, he just, They're grasping at anything they can.
If I'm correct, wasn't Mokili just a chimera of was it a snake and a gorilla?
No, that's that's the supposedly in the Congo where there's a sauropod type thing living in a river, or that's the way they describe it. So yeah, they describe it as a sauropod living in the river or along the river. It's strange, but I mean, no one has ever gotten a picture of it, and once they show them a picture of something, they say, yeah, that's it. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's strange with modern technology that we don't have. Especially Africa is actually it's progressing. People there do have phones. Not everyone there just lives in a hut. There's people there with phones. It's strange that no one, not just phones, a regular camera.
Oh yeah,
no one there has gotten a picture of it.
Go green, go white. Yeah, Michigan State. OBS, Lisa says she has OBS and has to figure out how to hook it up. I downloaded OBS, and my computer's about 7 years old. It's an all-in-one Lenovo, and I just got I don't think I had enough memory because I wasn't able to run OBS and other programs at the same time. I mean, to get it to work smoothly. So dragons. Guitar Dog. Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. There's a great book, and I got it right here, called The First Fossil Hunters. And it's by Adrian Mayer. And as far as the dragons and that goes, excellent book. I mean, she's actually traced back a lot of the myths are of dragons and of things like griffins and that are tied to dinosaur fossils. So it can be traced back to that. The griffin is believed to be tied to Triceratops fossils near some gold mines in the Middle East there. And if you're they were actually near the mines. There were Triceratops skulls and eroding out of the side of a cliff. Well, people back then had no concept of extinction. They had no concept that something was alive millions of years ago that isn't around today. So to them, they see that as bones of something that might be alive today. That's how the myths started. And you want those myths to be perpetuated and people to believe them if you're the one visiting the gold mines. you want other people to stay away. So that's one of the things. But I definitely think that's a case of dragons being the result of people seeing fossils. I covered that in another video. I don't remember which one, but there's different dragons in China. In China, they call everything dragon bones. I mean, if it's a fossil, they call it dragon bones. And it's just been part of their myths, for centuries there. So. Hugo and Jake did awesome. Oh, I clicked on that one. How do I unclick somebody? That's the thing. Once I got one clicked, if I don't go back to the original one, I don't know how to unclick it.
I haven't watched their debate yet. I've been, kind of nervous.
There you go, Guitar Dog. That's how I got rid of the other one. Yeah, it's cool. It's part of this program. So again, I'm just still kind of learning it, but it's neat. Protoceratops. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was one of the ceratopsians. That much I knew. So, another thing about what Mayer brought up about some of the Greeks and that the ancient Greeks and Romans, some of their myths were centered around finding Ice Age mammal bones. If you find a mammoth femur, it looks like a human femur. It just looks like a big human femur, and to them, because they had no concept of mammoths, and so that you dig up something like that. And I believe there was a fossil in one of the temples that was actually being worshipped, and it turned out to be an Ice Age mammal, something from an Ice Age mammal. Also the, what was it? The mastodon having the hole in the center of its head and what look like almost eye sockets on the side. You have to look at a mastodon skull to see what I mean. We have one at the Arizona Museum of Natural History. It's really easy to point it out to people how somebody could look at that and think Cyclops. So again, some of those myths I think came about because people had seen these Ice Age fossils.
Have you seen Aaron's video, Flintstone Archaeology?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's a really good one. A lot of the dragons in the European Middle East were based on varanids, and as you can see throughout time, as you get more and more recent, you can see the forked tongue gain more forks to the point where it appears to look like fire.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asked me that if I've done this before. I haven't done this before. I'm new to all this. Yeah, I have not ever done like live shows or even just the videos. It took me a while to figure out how to do it. I use the Windows Movie Maker from Windows 7. That's all I use for my videos. And I'm just now kind of getting that down. But yeah, thanks. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, Hugo's and Jake's debate was good. It's just that in debates like that, they both kind of were going at each other. I mean, they were going after Kent. Kent was going after them. It wasn't moderated really well. The modern day debate guy, sometimes, I mean, he's a really nice guy, but he doesn't step in enough at certain times, I don't think. And both sides are going to claim victory in something like that. That's the problem. All right. Interesting. All right. We got 80 something watching. Cool. Whoa. Oh, wow. The chat just went flying here. One thing about this other program I'm noticing is that if people do a super chat, it doesn't highlight it with a color, so I can miss them easily. So apologize for that if I missed anybody. Is there any rare arguments that creationists use that we should know how to counter? Somebody asked. I'm trying to dig for some of them. There are, if you go to my Refuting Creationism page, we've got about 52, I think, on there now, and still working on that. But there was one that I saw recently, or the couple that I've done recently. One was the closed clam thing. That one you hear every now and then. You hear the clams on top of Mount Everest a lot. The closed clam thing you don't hear as often, but there was one on the whites of their eyes that I did where, and I try to give examples of people using it, because again, it's not one you hear that often, but they're kind of dumb arguments. I mean, they're not, like, especially the whites of their eyes one. I mean, what they're saying is they're deceiving you into trying to think that Australopithecines, for example, looked like humans more because of the whites of their eyes. Well, they're hominids, and other hominids have white sclera, so there's no reason to think that our ancestors didn't. So, let's see. If you were in the Flintstones universe, what dino job would you do, Bill and Chucky? Well, I don't know. Was there dinosaur breeding back then? I mean, did they do that kind of thing, selectively breed them, like we did with dogs, maybe? Raise them, shows. I mean, dinosaur shows would be cool, like dog shows. When I was a kid, my family, we used to participate in dog shows. We bred and raised miniature dachshunds. So I think maybe miniature versions of the dinosaurs would have been a cool thing to breed those. How about you, Chucky?
I want to do the same thing as Fred Flintstone. So a sauropod crane operator.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that would be cool. Yabba dabba doo. All right. Some of the creationist claims that we've seen lately, I won't bring up any names, but they the doorknob thing surfaced again recently. I did a blog post about it a day or two ago, where supposedly they're saying these doorknobs were in coal dated 300 million years old. No, it was doorknobs from a shipwreck with a boiler room that was full of coal that got strewn across the ship when the ship went down, and the doorknobs were mixed in with the coal. And, the creationists are saying that it was part of a formation. No, it wasn't part of a formation. Those are just crazy, outrageous claims. That one was shared. The Biblical Creation Facebook page put that one out a couple years ago, and it was shared over 2,000 times. 2,000 times. I mean, that many people. And then who knows, who shared it on from there or whatever. It's crazy how they can do that. But we had a guy in the Kent Hovind, the Man, the Ministry, and Message group, just, I believe, yesterday, put out a photoshopped image of a moth that was mimicking an owl. And when he was called on it, he just shrugs it off and says, "Why replace the image, but it's still the same thing." No, it isn't the same thing. You just got called out on falling for a Photoshop because you didn't check your source. It just shows that they don't check their sources. They would just as soon pass something on that's false and not apologize for it. They don't check their sources at all.
Yeah, Joey he's very famous for the tu quoque. And when you catch him on something like that, usually what he'll go to is, "Oh, I may have lied this time, but you lie all the time." Something like that. Which is basically...
Somebody asked, would I do an interview with Robert Beatty? They're asking me. I might. I know Robert. I would love to see Robert debate Kent. I think Kent's been running from that one for a couple of years. Kent Hovind says that he will debate anyone. He won't. It's obvious. I know other people that have been turned down. He's definitely afraid to debate Robert Beatty, because Robert Beatty will show that what Kent did do to go to prison was illegal. He knows the tax laws, and he knows them well. Can't get around that. So, Bill, did you find Bigfoot? I did not find Bigfoot, but my 10-day quest was all documented on my personal Facebook page. Yeah. Bigfoot believes in me. Good. What do I think about Kent's favorite lie? We all came from Iraq. I know I addressed that in my debate with him a little bit. We don't teach that we all came from Iraq. Humans are made of natural materials that occur on the earth, of course. All of our body chemistry and our, the minerals and that make us up. But that doesn't mean that we came from Iraq. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the most popular hypothesis I've heard for abiogenesis states that we come from that the first protocells came from atmospheric gases. But I don't know where Kent, atmosphere reconnects atmosphere to rocks. It's really strange.
Well, and that's I had a couple people in the last month want me to debate abiogenesis. It's like, why? We don't understand it yet. We don't have a theory. We have several hypotheses.
Yeah.
And we don't claim to know how life began. That doesn't mean we don't know how life evolved after life began. But, why debate that? I'm just going to say we don't know yet. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. We don't know the answer to everything. But if we stopped looking because we thought we had the answer, we'll never find the truth. So, UFOism. I'm not sure what UFOism is, but do I believe in UFOs? I believe that there are things that are unidentified and they might fly. I don't know if aliens had visited us. I would like to think that there are other civilizations in the universe, probably more advanced than us. I would like to think they'd have enough common sense to leave us alone. But I'm not sure what UFOism is.
Does Kent believe in UFOs?
I have no idea. I know Ken Ham doesn't. He doesn't think there's any other life in the universe. So
Yeah, I was gonna say for people who in the state of Vermont alone, there have been over 300 UFO sightings since 2010. So
Hmm.
for people who take eyewitness accounts so seriously, why then don't they believe in UFOs?
Yeah. Rock soup. All right. Well, how many we still got watching? Oh, 94 watching now. Wow. Got more watching now. I was thinking of wrapping it up here. I don't know. I don't have much else to go by. I think that we can say conclusively that Mr. Truck Driver, Alan, is it Alan, the truck driver?
It's
Is
Alan.
yeah, he was a really nice guy, but he didn't give any evidence at all for a pterodactyl flying over um, Dallas Fort Worth area. I mean, we have his words, but there was nothing at all to back it up. It would be extremely unusual for out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that would have had to have seen it that day. I mean, literally, no one else to speak up. You know, we have strange lights over Phoenix, or we have different things like that happen. You know, you hear. I even see where for 20 seconds I saw a meteor one night here explode south of Phoenix, and other people were talking about it on Facebook the next day. You know, other people
Yeah.
noticed it happened for 20 seconds, and you had to be there at 2 a.m. facing the right direction to see it. But other people were talking about it, and we're talking about hundreds of people driving down the freeway, and no one else mentioned it. You know,
Didn't he say he was in Fort Worth?
yeah, Dallas Fort Worth area, yeah,
That's a
busy area.
largely populated area.
Sure, and you know, even if it was just in one little area, and where does the thing live? Where does it go the rest of the time? There's no.
Yeah, where would
You
it?
know, we've also
Especially,
talked about with any of these animals, the Loch Ness monster, any of these things like that. There has to be a population. There has to be a breeding population for them to
yeah,
survive. You know, one doesn't cut it. It ain't gonna last very long. Horizontal gene transfer. You know, I am not a genetics guy. I could, if I did a video on horizontal gene transfer, it would be with a guest, somebody like a Herman Mays or somebody, and that's a possibility for sure. But I could not do a video myself on a lot of the genetic stuff. I'm into the paleogeological world here. So, has Ken ever given an answer to the flood boundary in the rock layers? You know, he never did, and neither, like, you know, I tried to. Nephilim Free says that there's no flood boundary, that all the layers were, and then accused me of not knowing what creationists believe. He never gave me an answer. You can't get any of them to really give you an answer. Nate Loper is a guy who I did a video about recently. He's one of the Grand Canyon tour guides, and he was the one that was pouring a bucket of water, if any of you saw that, and he made a little straight stream and said, oh, it looks like the Grand Canyon. Well, he proved that it wasn't formed that way. But he posted just within the last couple of days in one of the Young Earth Creationist Facebook groups, mentioning something about the pre and post flood boundary. And it was all over the place again. They can't decide. Now, he thinks it's near the KPG boundary. But again, some of them will say that. Some of them are going to say around the end of the Ice Age. But they believe the Ice Age was after the flood. So some of them are going to say just before the Ice Age. You know, there's about 60 million years there where you'll find different answers for that. So, right. Pterodactyls are huge, and you need a breeding population. That's right. Still figuring out how to use this thing, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, the Grand Canyon, you know, we don't know a lot of the details yet, but we know it was mainly formed in the last 6 million years. So, which they used to think it was a lot longer than that. So it has changed in the last 20 or 30 years. What else we got?
Yeah, the Texas roping. Are you familiar with the roping?
Me?
Yes.
Uh-uh.
It's it's a supposed pterosaur that it glows in the dark. Bioluminescent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Richard White says, greetings from Mexico. Hola, Richard. And thank you again. Richard recently retired. I've been down. Richard come up to see me from Tucson a couple times. I went down and saw him. And I'm telling you, the man had a library, or has had a library in his home. Almost every room lined with bookshelves, amazing books. I was lucky enough. Richard gave me a large collection of creationism books. So I now have, The Flood by Henry Morris. I mean, I've got all these books on creationism written by creationists as references. I can't say I'm going to read them all. He gave me 5 boxes worth, and I don't know I could ever read them all. But books and the journals that they put out too, the like quarterly and that type journals, a wealth of information, amazing reference material. And thank you again, Richard. So it's already come in handy several times. Greetings from Texas. All right. Well, I want you to keep your eye on the sky and let us know, Christine, if you see any pterosaurs near Dallas, Fort Worth, especially. Really like your videos. Thank you. I agree, Lisa. A whole bag. Calgary, Alberta. Now that's someplace I haven't been. I've been to I grew up in Michigan, so I've been to Ontario and Montreal, Quebec, but never been to Western Canada. They got some good dinosaur fossils there, though, huh? Australia. Oh, here's a good question. Terry says, do creationists reject paternity tests? Well, that's the thing. The same type of testing that tells us whether we have a common ancestor with a sibling, with a common parent, is the same type of testing we use to find out that we had common ancestors in the past. So do they reject them? I don't know. That'd be a good thing for Maury Povich show, wouldn't it? To get a couple of young Earth creationists on there that need a paternity test done and have them say, were you there? All right. Thanks for all the great comments, guys. Will you be attending the Architect? I doubt it. I don't know that I could ever go there. Seriously, I would probably be upset the whole time. I don't know if I could walk through there and not get kicked out for laughing or speaking my mind, one or the other. There's a possibility. You never know.
One of my goals is to go to the Ark Encounter before its inevitable financial collapse.
Yeah, I think he's doing better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's not doing what he originally projected, that's for sure. But, I don't know that he's going under. I'd like to see it go under. I would like to. One of my guests, my guest on September 2nd, Luke Douglas, grew up in that area, and he's a former Young Earth creationist. He has a lifetime pass to the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum. He's been to both a few times. He actually knows some people that worked at the Ark Encounter around the time it first opened. He's told me some stories that I'm not sure I can share, so I don't want to do that right now. but it's not all quite what you think, or what Ken would like to think. Do I debate other topics like technology, global warming? You know what? I try to stick with what I really know. The two things that I am the most familiar with, that I'm comfortable in debating, are human origins and geology, as far as sedimentary geology and some areas of paleontology. I'm not a big dinosaur person. Not that I don't enjoy dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. I just haven't studied them that much. I kind of got into ichnology a few years ago, and I stumbled on some tracks here in Arizona, and that became an interest of mine because of the fact that I found some. And then now I'm doing an awful lot with it. In fact, I'm going to be presenting at the Geological Society of America National Convention next month here in Phoenix. It's a track site that we discovered just about an hour and a half from my house here at the base of the Mogollon Rim. It's not the track site that I discovered a few years ago at the top of the rim in the Coconino Sandstone. This is in much lower layers, red beds they call them, about 285, 288 million years old. And it's the oldest extensive track site in the Permian track site in the state of Arizona now. We found plant fossils mixed in with lots of different tracks, about 5 different species. That I'm going to be doing a presentation at the GSA meeting coming up. But as far as debating other topics, again, I get asked all the time. Some guy wanted to debate me on genetic entropy or whatever. I don't. Why would I debate it? Because I haven't studied it. I mean, you can only learn so much. And
was that standing for truth?
Yeah. One of his fans. I mean, he actually did mention that to me too. Daily Science. If you're talking Science Daily, is that it, or is it Daily Science? Because Science Daily is a site that one I like. It does have a lot of the real current stuff.
Yeah, Science Daily is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And they do reference the actual papers below.
Right. Yeah. And they don't seem to be them and physics.org, the phys.org. I don't see a lot of horrible headlines coming from those places.
Yeah, those are definitely the least pop science.
Yeah, because, it just drives me crazy when I see something saying, new human fossil throws theory of evolution into chaos or something. It's like, no, it didn't. I mean, it meant that one species is 20,000 years older than we thought. It didn't change anything else. So I hate a lot of those headlines. But
Say Goodbye to Lucy one. Have you seen that one?
I think, is that a creationist one though, or
no? It was a pop science article that said say goodbye to Lucy.
I don't remember that. Now I know that I have, in fact, again, like I've got some of these comics and other things. I've got the Nat Geo magazine where they talk about. I don't have it handy right here, but they talk about Lucy being kicked to the curb. It was a comment that somebody made in an article there, and what they were saying was Lucy was no longer the oldest, most complete human ancestor found, or whatever. And creationists take that the wrong way and say she's been kicked out of the family tree. No, she's no longer the oldest, most complete, because they found Ardipithecus or whatever.
Yeah, that was on Ardipithecus. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So do you think the whole "were you there" argument ever enters their mind regarding their belief system? Well, no, but what they'll usually come back with is, I know someone who was, and he speaks to me, so that's how they get around that. So proto feathers, well, hair and feathers and scales are all come from the same thing, Well,
there's a key difference. Hair is there's two types of keratins. You have alpha keratin and you have beta keratin. Within scales, you have beta keratin and alpha keratin. Within feathers, you only have beta keratin. Within hair, you only have alpha keratin because mammals don't have beta keratin.
Okay.
So Mary Schweitzer, she actually did there's an experiment done by Mary Schweitzer where she found the decay product of beta keratin in the proto feathers in a dinosaur called Shuvia. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And it's pretty much definitive evidence that what we're looking at is not just hair. It's at the molecular level, it's essentially a feather.
Yeah. Alex Rubenstahl would be great on that too. He's all into the whole origin of birds and early feathers and stuff. Somebody asked, "Where's Lucy displayed?" The original Lucy now is back in Africa under lock and key. So the actual fossils. So there are a lot of replicas out there. There's one sitting in an office at ASU that I've been trying to get them to loan to our Arizona Museum of Natural History. Got to meet the right person. Redated Homo naledi. I don't know about that. All I know still is that it was dated at 235 to 335,000 years old. But I wasn't aware that it's been redated. I'll have to look into that. Send me a link.
I haven't heard that. I did hear it was pretty recent. I can't remember the exact date.
I actually met Lee Berger the month before they announced the age of Homo naledi. At that time, they hadn't announced the age yet. His book, Almost Human, was set to be released the following month. And they were going to have this big press conference in South Africa with the president of South Africa, where they were going to announce that not only the age of Homo naledi fossils, but that they found 2 other fossils in different parts of the cave, that were almost complete too, very, very good fossils, instead of just the 15 individuals they brought up from the one area. And I was in the lobby of the Mesa Arts Center here where Lee Berger was giving his presentation. I'm doing the human origin stuff for the museum where I volunteer with a bunch of skulls and everything. Well, Lee Berger and I come up and talk, and guy next to me selling Lee Berger's book, Almost Human, a pre-release, and it had the final chapter in it. Up to then, nobody else had seen the final chapter. So this guy's book's got the final chapter, which lists the age of the fossils a month before anybody's supposed to know. So I found out about it. Lee was flipping out. He's like, "I know you're on social media. Don't say a word." So I was sworn to secrecy. So I couldn't say anything about it. But then about 2 weeks later, somebody on Twitter, the Nat Geo came out, how the magazines come out a month before they're supposed to, or before the date on them at least. Nat Geo comes out, it's in there. Somebody takes a photograph of that, puts it on Twitter, and boom, the word got out 2 weeks before his big press conference. So it was no longer a surprise to anybody, but that was a neat story. Have I ever thought of going to Dinosaur Adventureland? No.
I have thought about it.
I've seen, it's a long way from where I live. I've seen the video tour. I made a funny video about that, but have you read Sapiens? Yes, I have. And that, when it came out, it was so up to date. It's still up to date. That is, on my website, I've got that listed as my #1 choice book, and it still is. It was written, I think, 2015. So, any book on human origins is going to be a little out of date by the year it came out because so much new has been finding. But that is a really good book. And not only does it go back about 7 million years as far as hominid evolution and that, it's very understandable. I mean, some of the stuff I read by Ian Tattersall and by some of the people in that gets pretty, it's pretty dry. You got to really be into fossils to read it. Sapiens reads very well, but they also talk about early civilization. And that's just, the dawn of civilization, 10,000, 12,000 years ago. Really interesting stuff. So Sapiens is amazing.
Someone said, Chucky, as a former Yek, you could pull that off. I believe they're talking about the dinosaur adventure. Oh, yeah, the dinosaur Adventureland thing. I think I could because a lot of the arguments, I think I could argue better than most creationists.
Jim Hill asks, have you ever read Clan of the K Bear. I got a first edition right here, buddy. I got. I've got. I actually have read them all. Yeah. I've read all those, Jim. And I think it's pretty cool. And I've got them here on display with a piece of mammoth tusk. I've got a Colombian mammoth tooth next to it. I've got some like an early hand axe, genuine artifacts and fossils. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That doesn't mean I think it's real, but she did a really, really good job in what it may have been like. All right. Well, any word the Neanderthal DNA specimen was contaminated? I don't know what he means on that. There's been a lot of Neanderthal genomes done now. So we have, I don't know, I think about 12. So 12 different individuals. Immortal jellyfish? I don't know about the immortal jellyfish. Do you, Chucky?
Yes. So I don't know what specific species. I believe it's a Medusa jellyfish. So they'll revert back to their infant stage, if you should call it that, and then revert back to their adult stage countless times, and they'll supposedly live not for but for a really long time by just going back and forth between stages. I believe that's what she's referring to. I'm not sure.
That I can agree with. Neanderthals had psychic powers and did a lot of drugs. Well, we know they ate some mushrooms.
Sounds like my type of people.
They probably ate some other things. Whether they had psychic powers or not, I don't know. Checkmate. All right. Well, we've been going an hour now. I told them here that I was going to do a show for an hour, and so I told my girlfriend's grandkids that they couldn't play online video games until I was done. So I had probably better wrap it up now, so I keep my word. But thank you, Chucky. This was really fun, and I'm glad I got to check out this program. I think it's going to work out really well. I like the fact that I can integrate some clips in with it. I wish I'd have done some more of those, but I didn't really have time since this all went down today. But I think it's interesting that I can do, I can integrate clips with it. I can do an intro. I could do an outro if I had one. In fact, I'm going to use my intro as the outro. How's that? I think I can do that right here. So thank you, everyone. Until next time, September 2nd, I'm going to have a live show here again with the executive director of the Greater Phoenix Humanist Society, who's a former young Earth creationist. And I hope you all tune in for that. That should be an excellent show. And until then, I will see y'all soon. Thanks again, Chucky.
Thanks for having me.